When you talk about taking risks, what does that mean for you musically? I understand for like the first thing that came to mind is if you have a song that's more well known, maybe you take
Oh,
less risks because people know it a little bit more,
hmm.
and there could be a reaction that way. But also you have to balance out how you feel about the song and kind of not like
Yeah,
not care what everybody else thinks, but you kind of
right.
got to do you. But there's like a weird balancing act. What does that mean for you to be risk taking? I guess.
Basically, kind of what you just said. The farther away you get from a transcription, basically. So the more you add to the core nature of a song. So, for some pieces, I remember I did an arrangement back in undergrad where I just wrote a completely original introduction for a song. This is probably my favorite arrangement I did back in undergrad, and I arranged a lot for that group. Um, where I just basically wrote this like chamber choir intro, and it was like a minute long, and then it kind of transitions into the actual arrangement of the song. But when the song starts, you have no idea what song it is. So like that was a big risk that worked out super well because it's literally nothing to do with the original song, but just wrote my own original music and like wove it in. That would be like a risk. So you could do that, and maybe, like you said, for something really popular, if you start off the song with a totally original segment, people are going to be like, I don't know, like, what is this song? This isn't the song I was expecting to hear. And if it's a minute long, chances of them clicking away is like 99%, unless
Yeah.
they're already. So that's one. So creating your own harmony, just putting more of your own thoughts into a song that's already been established. And the second one is taking risks vocally. As an opera singer, we're trained to like basically be perfect vocally all the time, like perfect breath support, consistent vibrato, the right space, the right amount of tension in your vocal tract. All that stuff is supposed to be like perfect. And so something I've been doing more and more with these covers is like really pushing myself vocally and kind of trusting that my voice is going to be fine. Um, for some projects coming up this summer, I've done a lot of like really high, pretty hard like belting, basically like healthy yelling, pretty much like at the very top of my range, like really pushing it. And of course, my voice is fine. It's trained. The voice is it's these tiny little, like the vocal folds are tiny, but they're really resilient. It is actually difficult to damage them. But opera singers all the time feel so scared about that because it's our whole livelihood. It's our whole career. So even though opera's the most powerful singing in the world, like if you're gonna hurt yourself, it's probably gonna be doing that, right? Because like it's so loud and so powerful all the time. But like the vocal folds can handle it. So that's what I've been doing more of lately. Is just like being willing to push myself vocally where I wouldn't have gone even a year ago.
Yeah, that makes sense as well. I think when you talk about pushing yourself, I think everybody who's got some aspect of performance, whether it be musically, athletically, anything, there's some aspect of pushing the limits of what you can do. And that's always interesting for me when I'm talking to people on the podcast. It's one of the things that's been really cool about the podcast. I get to talk to all sorts of different people, but one of the things I get to talk about is like what pushing themselves like or yourself means to that person in that industry. And it's always cool to hear how in touch that person is with their craft. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. And to hear you like I can tell that obviously you know exactly what you're talking about, but there's like and kind of in like intuition you have with like you know exactly what you meant when you said I'm going to push myself because you've spent so much time training with it.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody
Right.
will say, "Oh, I just want to push myself," and they're vague about it. They
Mm-hmm.
don't necessarily know, and that's a very cool distinction for me to hear when I'm talking to people.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's the other thing about building an operatic voice is kind of one of my teachers called it vocal engineering because
Hmm.
basically the whole goal of building an operatic voice is for your entire range you're going to be using an opera. You want to be able to sing basically on every vowel on every pitch, so every half step throughout your entire range. You want to be able to completely maximize the efficiency and power and control of the sound. So you basically have to methodically go through every half step on every vowel, singing in all these different languages and be able to sing everything completely perfectly. So yeah, if you have trained, like, I guess technically I've been training almost 10 years as an opera singer, but really I didn't give a shit until 4 or 5 years ago at most. And then, since then it's been really serious. But yeah, so like for me, when I say pushing myself, it's like, a high belt on an F4 on the piano. Not that difficult. I can do that fine. F sharp gets a little more difficult. G, then like once you get up to like G, A flat, way up there for a bass voice is like, if you are not absolutely, it's like walking a tightrope. If you're not completely on your breath support, if your vocal folds are not coming together exactly how you want it, your voice is going to crack, or you're going to miss the note or something like that. So that's the kind of stuff I mean when pushing myself. So there's this in my cover that a new cover that's coming out in May. I have this huge sustained A flat, and I had to record it like 25 times probably, which of course is really tough on the voice, because I would get like 5-6 seconds in, and my voice would crack up to falsetto, which is a voice crack really is a defense mechanism for the voice. It's like basically what's happening, just a really quick voice science thing. In your chest voice, you're using all of your vocal fold mass. So I believe the thyroarytenoid muscles, which is like 75 to 90% of your vocal folds, plus 10% mucosal membrane, which is just the edge. In chest voice, you're using the whole thing. The whole apparatus is vibrating. When you flip up to falsetto, it's just the edge. So basically what happens is, as you're getting higher and higher in chest voice, all that mass is stretching, and then at some point it just cannot withstand the stretch anymore when it's stretching all of the mass, so it releases a bunch of the mass, so it's just the vocal fold, just the membranes, and then you flip up into falsetto. That's a very long explanation of what happens in a voice crack, but it's really a defense mechanism. It's like, if you keep sustaining that with your full vocal fold mass, you like increase your risk of injury, basically. So for me, recording this belt, I had to get it so that the whole belt, which is like, it must be like 8 or 10 seconds long, and like it's like basically just a huge, loud, breath-supported yell at that point. I finally got it to where my voice stayed fully in chest the whole time. But that's something I never would have attempted, even probably 6 months ago. It's like, really, for me, the last few months have been like really learning how to push myself vocally outside of the opera world. I know how to do it in the opera world because I know operatic technique super well. But doing stuff in genres outside, like rock style singing or anything non-operatic, it's not new. I've been singing all these genres for years, but to push myself in those genres is a new thing.